Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about an interesting topic, reactionary spells. Spells that you use your reaction to cast. So, any of them if you hold your action. Spells that are meant to be just reaction. Because Humblewood added an interesting spell onto D&D Beyond for reactions. Which thankfully, due to the spelling of the spell, I can talk about that one last. Because I want to do this in order. I want to say, what my stance is for all the current reaction spells, because now there are, if your DM decides to allow Humblewood as well as Strixhaven. Because there's a strange balance here. So we have absorb elements. Basically, use your reaction if you're getting hit with an acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. You basically just get resistance to that damage type, and you're able to apply it to your melee weapon. And that damage gains an extra d6 if you upcast the spell. This does not change how strong you resist the damage. The spell can be good. In fact, it can be great depending on some enemies. Let's say, for example, an ancient red dragon. Their fire breath, if you fail that, 26d6, or about an average of 91 damage. As a wizard, that's gonna hurt, but being able to absorb elements make that, reduce that 91 down to 45 or 46 if you are rounding up, or 44 if you're rounding down, or no, it'd be 45. That's gonna help you out in a pinch. The damage part, yeah, it's weak. In fact, why restrict it to just melee? It just hurts the spell a lot more. But this spell is alright. I would say it's the weakest of all the reaction spells, but it has its purpose. Druids, rangers, sorcerer, wizards, and artificers get the spell, and it's solid. It's okay. Now we have counterspell. Counterspell, I would say, is the most game-defining reactionary spell. If you see an enemy wizard about to cast Chain Lightning, you cast Counterspell and you can shut that down. So how Counterspell works is that this costs a 3rd level, which Absorb Elements is a 1st level spell slot. I'm a spellcaster, so this is rather niche. But spellcasters exist in in almost every D&D game, at least one. Basically, if it's a level 3 or lower spell, the spell fails, no effect. But if they upcast it, if you just use it at 3rd level, you have to make a DC equal to 10 plus that spell's level, based off of your spellcasting ability check. So let's say a sorcerer tried the counterspell. They used a 4th level spell slot. They have to make a DC 11 spell DC or level or 11 DC with their charisma check. Keep in mind, it's a check, not a save, so you're not able to add your proficiency. The classes that get this are Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Oath of Redemption, and Oath of the Watchers. And this is your classic. This is your game changing. If you're a person of Counterspell, it's gotta be a rough time for you. Now we have Shield. Shield is good or reliable. As a reaction, you gain plus 5 to your AC for a round, and you take no damage from magic missile. This is a good reliable defense for a first level spell slot. There's not much I can say except this is always handy to have when you're a spellcaster, or really any class. Adding 5 to your 8 to your armor really expands how much your HP is worth during that round where you're protected. The classes that get this are Sorcerer, Warlock, or Warlock specifically Hexblade, Wizard, Artillerist, and Battlesmith. And then we have the second to last and second to most recent reactionary spell, Silvery Barbs. Oh, the band spell at a bunch of tables. Yeah, no, this is the strongest. This is flat out the strongest. It doesn't sound crazy, but it is. For a first level spell slot and a reaction, basically, hey, creature, you see that nat 20 you just rolled? Reroll. Paladin, here's an extra die for you on your turn. That's basically what this is. Any d20 roll. So it could also be for monsters being able to see what you are. And keep in mind, it automatically chooses the lower roll. The advantage lasts for about a minute and can be used again on it specifically does say the next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. So if they come up with a situation where, they have to make a saving throw, that is using up that advantage. But this is just very powerful. Again, it just denies crits. Can be used against a spell save that you're casting as well to try to lock down a creature with hold person or something. Silver Barbs is the best reactionary spell, and it's hard to beat it. The classes that get this are Bard, Sorcerer, and Wizard, and we actually, DMs, if a DM is watching this and you want to take this advice, we allow counterspell, but there is a restriction we have on it. And really any other feature that would allow to reroll a d20, a d20 can only be rerolled once. So you can't just spam Silvery Barbs like bam bam bam, like if 3 people have Silvery Barbs. And now we have the final one. Humblewood's very own Spiny Shield. I like this spell. Basically, it's very similar to Shield, where your melee when you're in melee, you're way more protected. Because how the spell works, it's a reaction, lasts the same amount of time as Absorb Elements and Shield. But how it works is basically you gain this new HP pool. Sort of. Basically, whenever you're hit with a melee attack, this only does not add AC other than from ranged attackers. And that's only a +2 as half cover. But when you hit melee attacks, which this damage only works with, you resist 2d4 of that damage. So, about an average of, I believe, 5. No, wait, that does not sound right. Actually, it would be probably about 4, I think. But the range of damage you can reduce is 2 to 8, but with the first level casting. After the enemy hits you, you take that damage, you deal that same 2d4 back at the enemy as piercing damage. And this refreshes for every melee attack. So basically, your HP in general gets a 2d4 bump for that whole round. That can also deal decent damage to enemies. And when you upcast it, it gains an extra d4 for both effects. So, okay. This is your defensive scaling spell. Like, if there are melee attackers about to hit you, this can resist a good number of that damage. Because now, as you upcast it, second level, 3d4. Third level, 4d4. I know d4s don't sound like much, but when you have enemies that will eventually get multi-attack, as a wizard, that could hurt. And don't get me wrong, this is not perfect. I feel like it depends on scenario. On if you have a decent AC, you might want to use shield. But I think if you have a lower AC and you don't have a good way to increase it, this is your defensive spell. Because 2d4, it doesn't sound like much. But the more enemies that try to attack you, that's when the value of this spell rises. And I think it's a very interesting spot. I don't believe, unless it shows it here. It does, okay. Oh, so I didn't realize that it had this page, I'm dumb. This is available for Druid, Ranger, Sorcerer, and Wizard. And I think this is worth it. It's worth it giving it a shot. So yeah, that will be the video of the reactionary spells. If I were to make this into like tiering them, absorb elements will be 5th. It's still strong in the right scenarios. I think it's just way too limited, but can be very powerful. Like, I do see the value in it. Next is shield. Not that it's bad. It's very reliable. And I'm going to put Spiny Shield right after that. And really, they could flip-flop either way. It more depends on what you're fighting. Like, are you going to be able to reduce that damage to flat out 0? Or are you going to need to, take some damage to deal some damage? Then, we have Counterspell. Counterspell, very influential, but I think Silvery Barbs, because of how cheap it is just better. Base rules, let's say a full team of 4 people that get Silvery Barbs, yeah, your enemy is probably going to fail that wisdom save or behold monster or dominated person. I could name so many other spells, but I think those 2 are just like the big one, like some big heavy hitters. If you guys enjoyed the video, maybe I'll talk about more of the Humblewood spells. Talk about what I like, what I dislike. Maybe I'll talk about that new race that's hovering behind my shoulder. If you guys have any questions or want to bring up anything that I possibly that I missed talking about, please let me know. And as always, stay tuned for more content.